What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we are working on the Lightning 351 build. Now you guys have seen videos on this truck way earlier in the channel. We put a Holley EFI on it, we put Quick 4 standalone, we put heads cam intake on the stock bottom end 351, and now we're really cranking up to the next level. So you might have seen in the background of all the videos that we've been making lately, it's actually behind me here. It's been sitting in the shop, just taking up space. And now we're getting ready to take it way above and beyond what we originally even anticipated this thing's gonna turn into. So sitting right here in front of me is a Dart 427. This is a ZSR, Zach Smith Racing Engines built 427. Tom Molnar rods, Wiseco pistons, Lunati double keyway crankshaft. It has a Melling high volume blueprinted oil pump. Some other goodies that are in this, it is obviously the Dart SHP model block, so it has all threaded freeze plugs. We have the twisted wedge dish pistons. We're gonna hopefully have about 9.5, just under 9.5 to 1 compression ratio with this. And this is the crown jewel to what we're gonna be working on with the Lightning in the upcoming episodes. It's brand new. It's beautiful, it's painted, it's fresh as can be. And now we have a pile of parts over here that's going to be going into it. So we have all new gaskets for it. We have new lifters. If you guys have not seen the fiasco with the lifters, I think we have a short video on that. But one of the lifters was actually machined crooked, and it ended up wiping out the camshaft and causing some other problems also. So we got a new set of Morel lifters, and then we have a handful of other items on the table ready to go in as well, which is a new custom ground camshaft, a little bit bigger and more aggressive than even the last one was. And then obviously the oil pan and pickup and everything that we need to modify to put on that today. So hopefully we're gonna be putting this thing together and keep you guys up to date on the whole build. First thing I'm gonna be doing is degreasing the camshaft, which you guys have seen me do a few times, but this time we're gonna do it together. So I'm gonna get the camshaft ready to go in, lubricate it all, get that in, get the plate on it. And we're still using the old motor only got about 400 miles on it. So I cleaned and have this all ready for assembly. This is the single Torrington style rolling billet timing set. I mean, this thing is like solid as can be. It's a great piece, and one of the few things that we were able to salvage out of the last engine. It's ready to rock and roll on it pretty much. So I'm gonna get the camshaft unboxed. I'll share with you guys the specs, and we'll start putting this thing together. Got the camshaft. Now it's a little bit more aggressive than what was in it. It's still a billet core, custom grind, probably from Ed Curtis. I got it through ZSR, who does a lot of our valve train setup. This one is set up for a Procharger, so the setup on this one is gross valve lift is 620, 608 on the exhaust side. We have 280 and 295 duration, and then we have 110 intake centerline, which is actually what it was before also, so that part's still the same. And then 114 lobe separation, which is a little bit more than what it was before. So the duration at 50,000 on something like this is 230, 243. So it's a pretty stout hydraulic roller camshaft. So I already got it all cleaned up and wiped off. I'm gonna throw some assembly lube on it, put it in. I just take a long, like 3/8 bolt. This is a 3/8 core. Throw that in the end, gives you a handle to slide in the rest of the way. Should have started with that, but it's okay. Next thing, with the Torrington bearing, the next thing we're gonna put on is this cam plate. And since it's got a Torrington bearing on the back of the gear, you gotta get one that has machined countersunk holes. So you can put these on. These are like 10 to 12 foot-pounds with red Loctite. So I'm gonna clean this up real nice. Go ahead and throw this on. Just like that. And the cam's installed. So the next thing we're gonna do is degree the camshaft. But by starting off, in order to do this, you have to get the engine on super top dead center. And when I say super, I just mean super accurately. So you see we have our dial gauge set up on one. I have it perpendicular and in the middle of the piston. The piston can rock back and forth on the wrist pin. Now, in most applications, even this one, even though this is gonna be a pretty high-end build, you're still gonna get it really accurate. I think I'm really close to top dead center, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna install the degree wheel. We're gonna go fore and aft of what I believe top dead center. For example, 10 thousandths before you want the piston to be 10 thousandths before it reaches top dead center and 10 thousandths after it's past top dead center. You mark that on the degree wheel, split the difference, and that's going to give you absolute top dead center. So that's what we're working on right now. All right. So we got the degree wheel set up. I have a kind of a makeshift pointer. I got just a cheap Summit degree wheel. Everything works really well. But anyway, so I'm gonna test this, and I'm gonna just use a reference point. So on here, on the dial indicator, it's got 90 thousandths. I'm really close to. I know I'm close to before top dead center. So I'm gonna use 90 thousandths as my reference. There we go, perfect. So I'm at 90 thousandths. So on the degree wheel, here's my 0 for top dead center, roughly, and I am currently at 19 degrees. So I'm gonna go past top dead center, back to that same 90 thousandths. There's top dead roughly, and there's back to my 90, right there. So I was at 19, I was just right here, and now I'm at like 30 and a half. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna split the difference between those, and that's gonna be where I'm gonna set the engine, and I'm gonna reset the degree wheel to make that my 0. All right, so I have the motor back at the top dead center mark. Now I had to put the timing set on, which requires obviously taking the degree wheel off. So I'm just gonna verify I'm still at 0. Then we're gonna change the apparatus to ride on the intake lifter so we can check the intake center line, which is the purpose of this experiment. For the initial mock-up, we set the cam timing 0 to 0. So you're basically installing what people call straight up, which is 0 retard or advance of the camshaft. We've been pretty lucky that with later camshafts that have been made lately, that 0 is putting it right where it needs to be. Hopefully that's the case with this one too. It doesn't require taking it all apart and doing this all over again. So hopefully. All right, so the degree wheel is still accurate. We're still good there. A little bit that it's off is just gonna change me from reading one side of the indicator to the other. So right now it's centered if I read on this left side of the indicator. So that's what I'll be using. But I'm gonna change the dial indicator around, and then we'll verify cam timing. All right guys, so now we're doing pretty much the same concept as far as going 10 thousandths plus and minus of the max lift. What we're doing is we got the dial indicator set up on the intake valve lifter. It's straight with the lifter, and we're gonna ride straight up and down. So you wanna make sure that's as close as possible. You don't really want the indicator tip to move around at all. So we're gonna rotate over until we find the true max lift, record that, and see where it is on the degree wheel that max lift is happening. Should happen around 110 degrees of crankshaft. That's when the intake center line should be at its peak based on the cam card that was given to us. Note, that's 70 thousandths. I think it's getting towards max lift, so it's kind of a little bit of a guess on my first attempt here. So we're at 70 thousandths. I'm gonna continue to go look at this, which I'm at, here's 0. We are at 89 and I would say 90. We're at 90. Now we're gonna go past the max lift, then come back down to 70 again. There's 70, and we are at 1. So the swing between where we checked it, that 70 thousandths mark, we stopped at 90 the first time, and now we're at 129 and a half. Now basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna find the center between that. You're gonna take 90 as our first reading, then you're gonna add 129.5, 219.5, can you see that? Then we're gonna divide by 2. Which puts us at 109.75. Now, if you recall earlier in the video, the cam card calls for a 110 intake center line. I am a quarter of a degree off, and the teeth on an adjustable timing set is in 2 degree increments. So I'm not gonna get any closer than I am right now. So I'm going to pull this camshaft bolt out. I'm gonna apply Loctite, torque it down, and Alright guys, so you see that we have the timing cover and the water pump on. The water pump is really just a placeholder so I can tighten everything up. I copper coated the timing cover gasket. I'm going to trim it with an X-Acto knife so it fits perfect. And then the water pump, like I said, is just here because I do RTV the timing cover to the gasket to the block around the water port so I don't have any antifreeze leaks there. So I'm going to trim that gasket and that's pretty much it. I'm going to start working on putting the Innovator's West balancer on it so I can make sure that top dead center and this timing pointer is accurate. And that's pretty much going to wrap up the front of the engine. Then we'll flip it over, start making sure that the oil pan fits, changing the pickup tube, and then we will come back to the top to put the valve train and heads on it. Alright guys, so we're making progress. We have the balancer most of the way on. I gotta get a new balancer bolt because the Innovator's West sticks out super far. Still got about another 1/4 inch of the way to go. But it's, for the most part, it's on. The keyways fit snug. And then we just finished putting the pickup tube and measuring the 1/2 inch of pump clearance that we have between this and the bottom of the pan. So now we're going to throw some RTV in the areas that are prevalent to leaking on these things, throw the gasket on it, and then put the oil pan on, button the bottom up. And that'll be it for the bottom. Rotate it over and start doing some fun stuff on top.
Clean up the head studs, got those all back in. But damn, motors always look better with head studs. That's for sure. Got the lifters all in there too. Gonna get the head gasket sprayed, pop the heads back on.
Got the heads on, got the oil pan on. We're gonna flip it over now and finish putting the rest of the oil pan bolts in. We had to go get some new ones from the hardware store. Lifters are in, heads are torqued down. I think that's pretty much it. So now we're gonna get the rest of the oil pan bolts in so we know that that's solid. And start dropping push rods and checking rocker alignment and finishing up with the top bend. And then we'll probably start hanging the Procharger off this bad bitch because that's what we all want to see tonight. Well, the 427 build is going well, so hopefully you tuned in to watch this build happen. Man, look at that thing. We are about to set all the valves like you guys seen us do on the channel before, which is running oil pressure, setting the valves. The only difference we're going to do it is we're going to do it in order of firing order rather than doing it round and round. It'll probably make it a little bit easier and faster. And then we're going to move on to the good stuff. So all we have left to really wrap this thing up so it can at least sit closed is intake manifold, valve covers, and distributor. And those are the next 3 things that we're going to do once the valves are set. And then we're going to move on to the horsepower portion of today's show. So stay tuned and let's get back to the time lapse. All right, staying good oil pressure. Everything's getting oil in the top, both sides.
She's starting to slow down.
And the drill is done. That drill has done this a few times.
Ooh, she's hot as hell.
Now we're gonna get the intake manifold on, and yeah, pretty much ready to go to do high performance things. So we noticed that the engine is like really, I mean, first of all, let's just admire this fucking thing. That's a badass small block right there. All right, number 1 most exciting thing that we've done at Streetcar Shenanigans in a little while. This is the F1A-94 that we're gonna be putting on this 427 Dart SHP Bad Mama Jamma over here. We're gonna unbox it, and all we're really gonna do right now is mount the blower and the stand and everything to the motor, and then tomorrow morning we'll pick back up here and get the accessory drive done. Alright guys, so we're gonna wrap up this 351 build. Give you guys some imagery of what it looks like. We got the Procharger on it. This is just temporary, keeping it closed. The headers we got to put on in the truck, so they're staying off for now. I'm gonna get some spark plugs, start doing some spark plug wiring. So this is the Procharger alternator and power steering relocation bracket. So this is going to be pretty much the last thing aside from the standard rotation water pump that's drying. We're painted it. And then we're going to put that, and we got to put an ASP pulley. So the belt is literally just going to go on the outside of all these things. So you can see how that's going to work. Now, the only thing left is getting a Fox body power steering bracket so we can put the power steering pump over here. And that's the last thing that we're going to do outside of the truck. Otherwise, this is ready to go in and start getting plumbed and everything else that we got to do to finish this project up in the truck, which is exhaust and everything else. So we're going to work on getting the Lightning on the lift now, and we will continue the rest of this Procharge 427 build on a separate video getting the Lightning together. So if you haven't done so already by watching this build, or maybe you found this by watching our other 351 from scratch build, please subscribe down below, hit the bell for notifications so you guys can see this thing come to life in the next week or two. We're going to get it in the truck hopefully today, and that is going to be a huge push to get us to get this thing motivated to get started and running. So that's all we have for you now. We'll see you guys on the next video. Subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon.